We're glad to have you here. My name's Gina Ryan. I serve as the coordinator for Student Success Services here. So that means I do a little bit of everything. But we are glad to have you here and glad that we can take this opportunity to host an event for Franklin tomorrow. I do want to welcome you on behalf of our president, Dr. Janet Smith, and our vice president, Dr. Darrell Lampley. We love to have the community into our campus. And I know there are some folks here today that this is their first time on our campus. I will be out in the hallway after this event is over, and I'll be happy to take you on a brief tour of the campus if you would care to stay for that. Just a couple of announcements I wanted to make. We have just wound up our fall semester. We had over 2,400 students here in the fall. Yes. And the great news is our parking garage is open. So that is almost 500 more spaces than we've had. So now we won't be fighting for parking spaces, and we can have the availability to host more events like this. So we're thrilled about that. We're waiting to hear about our next building project, which will be Building 4. It's all set to go. We're just waiting. I saw Representative Whitson here, so hopefully he's going to be sharing some good news with us before too long about Building 4. But we are pretty well full with our classroom space right now, so we are going to, if we're going to continue to grow, we're going to need that extra building. So we're looking forward to that. I believe I have covered. Oh, I did want to say our semester starts next week. Next Tuesday is the first day of class. So you'll see people coming in here today on campus to finalize their schedule and get things squared away for next week. So we're looking forward to opening up the spring semester next Tuesday. So again, welcome. We're glad you're here.
My final introduction is for Nancy Conway, one of our board members, to come up, and she is going to participate in a segment called Did You Know? Thank you, Nancy. And thank you to all the board members I see that are here, our elected officials. I see Ms. Margaret Martin and Sam, Representative Whitson. Thank you so much for being here as well. And Brandy, I think I saw Brandy in here as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And I appreciate the microphone being at my height. So that is wonderful. Um, Performing arts throughout Franklin and Williamson County has been historically very important. And you know, if you go back in history, you will find plays being produced and shown at public and private schools, churches, just wherever. And then some years ago, we had pull type players to start in Franklin. And they are currently at 112 2nd Avenue South Franklin, even though through the years they have been at different locations. Your quiz question today is, how long has pull type players been in Franklin, Tennessee? Correct.
Wow, there was no hesitation there, Lynn. Okay. I don't want to know how you know that date that well, but it concerns me just a bit. Uh, but you are a native, so we'll give you that. But thank you for being here this morning. I'm Mindy Tate, Executive Director for Franklin Tomorrow. And this morning we're going to, in December, we had our Frank Talks always on the second Monday of the month. And we discussed the review of 2019 and looked ahead to 2020. And so today we're going to talk about the top people and some of the things you need to know for 2020. Is anybody else having a hard time going 2020? I'm still getting a little used to saying that. But we're excited to be here today. And I'm going to move over to the chairs here and introduce our guest. So our panel includes Justin Foster, who's General Manager of the Harpeth Hotel, Adam Ballish with Boyle Development, and also President of the Friends of Franklin Parks Board. So we'll add that in, and you've got some things going there this year as well. And Patrick Cassidy, who's Artistic Director for Studio 10 Theater Company. Guys, come up and join me. Adam, if you want to, or Justin, if you want to grab that mic off that podium, that'd be great. So, these three guys have a lot going on and a lot of different things, but we're excited to hear from them a little bit today about some things you need to know for 2020 and some projects you need to know. We're going to start by visiting with Justin, who's the general manager of the Harpeth Hotel. And there's a way that Justin, I know we're supposed to say the Harpeth Hotel, a curio. You'll teach us how to say that, I'm pretty sure.
Simply put, the Harpeth.
The Harpeth, great. Great. But who's been to visit or look around the Harpeth so far? Great, you've got some fans already. That's really good. But tell us a little bit from the standpoint of when you opened, and tell us a little bit about yourself as well, because this is top people to know.
Can everyone hear me without the microphone? No? All right. So my name is Justin Foster. I'm the general manager of the Harpeth Hotel. We opened up on November 26th, just right before Thanksgiving. It was a very quiet opening. We didn't go up to the roof and shout and let everyone know that we were open. We just kind of let it naturally happen. I support 100 or so associates, 13 managers, and really our sole focus is to provide the best experience for staycationers, travelers from outside of Franklin with the best possible experience they could have. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Traverse City, Michigan. It's a small town right up. Do we have any Michiganders in here? Couple, all right. I won't ask the next question because oftentimes they root for the wrong team, so I'll just leave it there. I'm a Spartan. So right up here, right up there. So in one of the things that helped my family and I really fall in love with Franklin was that the downtown Front Street, Traverse City, is very similar to downtown Franklin. So I felt like immediately we're kind of coming home. And it felt like other places that I've been throughout my career. But I was born and raised in Traverse City, Michigan. Left Michigan as soon as I graduated college. And have kind of been all over. And what's kind of interesting is I started my career, my first real hotel job was in Johnson City, Tennessee. So it's kind of like a complete circle. Because after that, I went back to Michigan and then to Virginia, to Denver, to Chicago, Salt Lake City, San Diego, and then San Diego from paradise to here, which is my new paradise. I love it here. I think we have a nice big open field where there's deer and turkeys, and it really again brings me back to my childhood. What else?
So when did you move to here?
We moved here about 2 years ago.
Your family.
And crazy thing is, it was my wife's job that brought us here, and she's in the hospitality industry as well. She opened the Noel Hotel downtown Nashville a few years ago. We had been in San Diego, and we really thought that the tap root was down. We weren't going to get out of there, and renovated a house and all that stuff, and then here we are. So when we moved here, we looked at Franklin, really wanted to be in Franklin, but didn't want to go through the whole renovation process. So we ended up in Nolensville. And I love my 20-minute commute. I actually drive by this building every day. So this was right on my way. And I have two little girls, Addison and Ava. They go to Mill Creek Elementary, and we love being here. Feels like home.
So you have 13 managers and about 100 associates. How many rooms in the Harpeth? And tell us a little bit about the banquet facilities and the layout as it relates to the hotel and the apartments?
Yeah. So 119 rooms, about 5,000 square feet of flexible meeting space. And when I say flexible, that's stretching it. We'll utilize every corner of that space to get events and so on. We have two fantastic restaurants. We have McGavick's Coffee Bar and Provisions, and that's on one corner, and that serves everything from local coffee to tap beer to sandwiches, salads, hand-dipped ice cream from Hattie Jane's Creamery. And it's a great place just to go and relax. I really see it once we get into the nice weather, the patio really coming to life and being more of a after-work spot and so on. And then we also have $17.99 Kitchen and Cocktails. Has been a great hit in the community. It's been very popular. And everything from prime steaks to some local fish to some great appetizers, and my favorite is handcrafted cocktails. So there's been a lot of positive input there, and we're really happy to be there. Really, the hotel, as you walk in, the whole design feature is to feel like you're walking into someone's home, someone's residence, and it really flows. You know, when I do tours, we walk in and you have guest reception, so a little bit different than most hotels where you have that big barrier, that front desk. I'm on the front desk side, you're the guest. Ours, you come in and you sit down at like a desk that you would have at your home. We have the guest actually sits down. We get them some water and really get to know them from a personal experience. We walk them to the elevator, we queue up the elevator, things like that. So it's a little bit more unique and from a service standpoint. We have a library on property that has Joel from Landmark Books outfitted all of the books and worked with our owner as well to make sure that they were the right fit, that they had the history of Franklin and the history of the South.
If you stay in the restroom or the elevator long enough, you can actually read an entire book. Is that right, Kristen?
Yes. So Robert Hickson and I have become very well acquainted over there, and he might be our number one guest so far. He's in there most of the time for dinner, and sometimes for lunch in the same day. And when the branding was coming together, there was several stories, and that's what the Harpeth is. You know, there's 1,000 stories to unlock, and we want our travelers' next story to be one that we add to our story bank. And we started talking about what are some of the iconic stories or books that were from Franklin, and Robert's Widow of the South was one. And I was, how do I incorporate this into the hotel? So we started playing around with ideas, and the owner of our third-party management company, Valor Hospitality, Ewan McGlashan, we started bouncing ideas off, and I was like, what if we put the book in the bathroom on a loop? And there's been some mixed feedback, but you know what? So when you're in there, you get to hear this all chapters, depending on how long you stay. And you know, the whole part of it is to create a talking point. So if you're at the bar and you go, you know, use the facilities, you come back, you're like, hey, there's this going on there. And we have signage, and what we might end up doing is putting famous quotes like on the mirrors or something like that in there just to tie it in a little bit more. But it's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. I wanted people to start talking about it, give them something to talk about that's unique. It's not anywhere else you go, you're not going to have that. And I think that's what's great about the Harpeth is it is a Hilton product. We don't promote that hugely. We love that you can book online, you can use your points, there's great exposure, but we are the Harpeth. We're not, you know, the Curio, and I got in trouble with my brand guy the other day about that, but he leaves and I continue saying what it is. You know, it needs to be, this is what, if we're going to have a hotel in downtown Franklin, this is what it needed to be. It needed to be unique, it needed to bring in the community, it needs to be a community hotel. And Hilton is great. Love Hilton, I've worked for Hilton a long time, but we don't want to make that the big spotlight. So
One more thing, and then
Yeah.
we'll pass the mic.
Sure.
Tell us, it's not really under your purview, but y'all been working on this whole block, this whole project for almost, 2 years.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about when people begin to live at the Harpeth in the apartments. How many apartments are there?
Sure.
Or something like that. Tell us a little bit about living.
So the Harpeth is one factor of the entire city block, really. There's also 150 residences. There's a 597 car parking garage, and then there's retail space on First and Main Street. So it's this major complex that it really provides guests can stay. From if residents are there and they have a 2-bedroom apartment and then family comes, they can stay at the hotel. And one of the unique things is there's one door that the residents will have access to. Hotel guests will not, unless they know the hotel guests and they give them their key fob. But they can scan back and forth over there, and really the thought process is, those guests would love to come over and enjoy 1799 and McGavick's and enjoy the services of the hotel while having a great downtown residence. But I think that the whole part of it is we've all been downtown Franklin, and it kind of stops once you hit the circle or the square. And this development, and there's another development there, it will start to stretch the main street, and it will help those businesses that have been in business between us and the square, and really provide a little bit more activity down there.
I call it the Squircle because it's a square inside a circle inside a square. So I've always called it the Squircle.
I like that term.
I think that I should probably have copyrighted that before I said that out loud, but it's the Squircle. Thanks so much. Well, thank you, Justin. And we're going to have time for questions at the end, but now we're going to talk with Adam Balish. So, Adam, you've been here a little longer than Justin.
That's right. I know a lot more folks, and so I probably don't have quite as an exciting story as Justin. But my name is Adam Balish. I manage and oversee all of the development and construction for a group called Boyle Investment Company here in Franklin and Nashville. And so we moved here a few years before. We moved here in 2005. So kids were born here, kind of feel very entrenched in Franklin and Nashville now. And I think when I run into folks, and there's been so much new growth and new transplants, that being here since 2005, I feel like I can at least rub my elbows with some of the folks that have been here much longer or native. But Boyle Investment Company is a family-owned development company out of Memphis. We have an office in Memphis, and we have an office here in Nashville. The company's been around for approximately 87 years now. It started in 1933 and are in our 3rd generation of ownership. And so what that means for us, the Boyle Nashville office started in 2001, and it was really an opportunity for the Boyle family to begin to divest and some of their interests in Memphis. They looked over the entire country, or primarily the Southeast and Mid-South areas, and chose Nashville as a place to set down roots and begin to invest, much like many of you. And we've grown that office in 2001 from having 0 properties and 0 customers to being the 2nd largest landlord in Nashville. So we kind of think of ourselves much like Franklin, almost kind of the little engine that could. We've got about 17 people in our office here in Franklin, and another 15 or so folks scattered amongst our properties to help maintain that. But and predominantly those are commercial. We have a lot of residential development at places like Berry Farms, but for the most part it's income producing properties like office and retail developments. And so much like we feel like Franklin routinely kind of plays above their weight, if you will, we feel very blessed to be able to do the same thing on a business standpoint.
You all took on a unique project just to the north of us in Brentwood when you, for people who've been here a long time, the Moreland Mansion and the Koger Center, and the redevelopment of that property into a mixed-use development. That's really what's happening in Williamson County right now, right? Is it's mixed use. It's not one single building as we've seen in the past, but it's more of a mixed use approach.
That's correct, Mindy. So she mentions a lot of folks may know the Moreland Mansion that was the historic home there at the Koger Center. We've renamed that City Park and redeveloped that several years ago. But we took a property that had predominantly vacancies or occupancy levels in the low 80% range and redeveloped that by introducing a hotel that wraps the Moreland House, introducing a mixed use of retail and restaurants there, and really for one of the few properties in Brentwood to allow for a mixture of uses to allow the office user to not have to go get in their car to drive to, Nashville, in a lot of cases in Maryland Farms for just eating lunch or something like that. And so those office buildings have, grown quite a bit in occupancy and are now, we're proud to say, almost fully leased on a routine basis because of that. And so one of, well, not one, but the Boyle Nashville mission is to serve and transform our communities, delivering lasting value that stands the test of time. So as I mentioned, the Boyle brand is a family-owned company. And unlike a lot of builders and companies that have come to Nashville that may build a building, fill it up, and sell it, our long-term MO is to hang on to those assets and own and manage those long-term. So in looking to partner with the communities and engage those communities, we're really looking for an opportunity to, in a lot of cases, bring something to the community that hasn't been there before and really take advantage of that.
Big project y'all are working on now is Northside McEwen. So tell us a little bit about that and explain to us what a jewel box is, because that's a key part of Northside McEwen.
So Northside McEwen is a 45-acre tract that we bought several years ago across the street from Whole Foods at the McEwen exit. So for a long time it sat as vacant land. We've redeveloped that. We had our first tenant open up in December, right before the end of the year, was a Pilates studio. So I had to get a little bit of coaching on what Pilates was. I still may not be able to quote that, but I think a lot of folks were very happy to kick off their New Year's resolutions at that facility. So McEwen Northside is once again another mixed-use development, and it is at a property that has about 750,000 square feet of office, about 100,000 square feet of retail, and a new hotel that'll be opening up probably third to fourth quarter of this year, as well as 580 apartments on site there. So the first phase of construction I mentioned just finished up. We'll have a new wave of tenants moving in over the next few months, and is also home to Mitsubishi's new North American headquarters from the office standpoint. Our apartments will open up in April, and like I mentioned, the hotel will be opening by October.
And what's a jewel box?
Sorry, forgot the most important part. So McEwen, I mentioned the mixed-use component and the opportunity to kind of engage with our community. And one thing that we're looking to do at McEwen is to really create a living room for Franklin, if you will. And we have a park that will be serve as that space. And inside that park, we have two very small retail outlets that we are calling jewel boxes that flank either side of the park. One of those will be a standalone Jenny's ice cream, and the other will be a wine and spirits bar that will have I think Franklin, well, besides two buildings I know of, have some of the first rooftop deck dining in Franklin for this wine bar. So we're excited to have that. But the park space is finishing construction now. So if you drive through McEwen, you may not see this completely built out yet, but we'll have a fountain and other areas where we hope to be able to entertain the public through public music and other activities to engage the kids. And hopefully we've hit some of Franklin's most important demographics with the opportunity to entertain some of the moms and wives and dads too at the wine bar while the kids all go to the ice cream shop.
Mixed use there again, right? Mixed use. So you mentioned parks, and you are president right now of the board of Friends of Franklin Parks. So 2020, there are things on the horizon for Friends of Franklin Parks and for public-private partnerships. So talk to us a little bit about that as well.
That's right. So I'm very proud to get to wear two hats here in Franklin and step aside from my day job sometimes and wear the hat as president of Friends of Franklin Park. So as a true confession, I believe that was in place until January 1 when one of my cohorts, Jamie Parker, who a lot of folks may know, was elevated from vice president to president. But
Best job on any board is past president, in case you didn't know that.
that's right. So I was one of the founding members of Friends of Franklin Parks and was vice president for maybe about 4 years before being president. And so we'll continue to serve on the executive board, and I'm very happy about that. But Friends of Franklin Parks developed as an opportunity to help privately grow public spaces within Franklin and Williamson County. And so sound somewhat hypocritical as one of the larger developers in town, but as development has continued in Franklin and Nashville, obviously we've seen that restriction and or constriction rather of some of the open space and park spaces. And so for really one of the first times since I've been here since '05, we started hearing complaints about quality of life factors in Franklin. And I know Franklin Tomorrow was kind of key in helping gain some of that knowledge through some of their public feedback procedures. But one of the first things that we started hearing was the lack of connectivity and open space around Franklin. And so Friends really jumped into that as an effort to continue to grow the parks, to invest and give back to existing parks, and then hopefully to be a big cheerleader in helping with the connectivity and open space. And so Ken Shin is one of our board members. I see him sitting here in the crowd as well. And in 2020, towards the end of 2019, we were very grateful to pay off our first project, which was the mixed-use arena at Harlansdale. So for anybody that has visited that through the years or been able to come to our Raise the Roofs events, we were very excited to pay off about $1.5 million construction project there. So
That's huge.
and I'm probably remiss in not pointing out our first executive director, Mindy Tate, who helped us get started through all of this. But in 2020, we have announced an additional campaign to help restore and bring back the Hayes House, which is a historic structure there on the Harlansdale campus, as well as an initiative where we've pledged over $300,000 in a public-private partnership donation to the city to help restore and preserve the main barn. So the city used that gift and an opportunity to elevate that up their CIP program, and that project is kicking off this year with taking the plans further. And then finally, one of our other big initiatives I mentioned is connectivity. And we worked with the city and the state and were successful in getting a approximately $2 million grant to build a second bridge over the Harpeth for a trail. So very excited and appreciative of that.
And we'll be working with Friends of Franklin Parks in the city and other organizations this year on a public-private partnership for the Southeast Park and a new inclusive playground, inclusive and accessible playground there, and we're very excited about that. Okay, thanks, Adam. So the new guy in town, Patrick Cassidy. So hey, you didn't have. I sent him a map and gave him the address, and I'm so proud he's here. I mean, he's really new.
It was truly an achievement. I wanted to tell Justin I had the privilege of visiting the facility at Harpeth, and I read War and Peace. I was there 10 days. It was fantastic. My My name is Patrick Cassidy, and I am the new artistic director for Studio 10. I am from California, not San Diego, which I do believe is paradise. No, I'm from Los Angeles, which is pretentiousness. It is, no, that's not true. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and yes, we have Hollywood, which is, thank you, which is the I guess the epicenter of film and television, and theater is New York, which is the epicenter there, and here music is the epicenter. Studio 10. Well, let me give you a little history about me. So, I've been an actor, performer for 40 years. Been on Broadway 7 times. I've done numerous television series, a lot of films. I've gotten a headline in Las Vegas. It was interesting. You think you've arrived, really arrived, when you see your name on the big Megatron thing above the MGM, and it says Patrick Cassidy. You actually think you're Frank Sinatra for the day. So I've had tremendous success and been very, very blessed. And about 8-9 years ago, I became a teacher. I really wanted to teach acting and teach musical theater and give back in a way that you can't give back as an actor or a performer. That led to directing. I went to various colleges and spoke at colleges, Carnegie Mellon, directed at Point Park University at Michigan. And then that led to me going to Las Vegas and working at the Wynn Hotel in that corporate atmosphere. And I was the resident director for a show there called Showstoppers for 2 years, which was sort of a Broadway review that only Steve Wynn could do, in spending so much money. And I was also the acting teacher for Le Rêve, getting to work with, gymnasts and dancers and synchronized swimmers and teaching them about acting. It was truly. And then for the last year and a half, in my hometown, I kept moving further north because Los Angeles got so crowded. So first I moved to the Valley from Beverly Hills, then I moved from the Valley up to what was called Thousand Oaks and Westlake. And up there I became the artistic director for a company called 5 Star Theatricals. And it was an incredible, it was my home, an incredible chance to give musical theater there to a community so they didn't have to go down to the Pantages Theater or the Amundsen Theater. And the last show I got to do was The Music Man. And for some of you who don't know, my mother is Shirley Jones. Shirley Jones starred in The Music Man. I was conceived on the set of The Music Man. It's true, I kicked Robert Preston on the footbridge in The Music Man. And I was going to sing today, but I'm just getting over a cold, so I would have told you that story. But so I grew up in a show business family. My brothers are the late David Cassidy. My brother is Sean Cassidy, who I'm going to bring here to Franklin, and he's going to do a fundraiser for us. And my father, of course, is the late Tony Award winner Jack Cassidy. Some people, if you know him, say that I look like him. He would do things like this. Yeah, I got the spotlight and the veneers. It matches perfectly. So I come from sort of, I guess, a dynasty of people in show business, and it was not not normal to grow up in a family where everybody sang. We really sang. That's all we did. And how I got to Franklin was my wife and I had been looking to leave California for quite some time. We'd looked at Austin, Texas. I talked to the Zach Theater about becoming the artistic director there. We talked about Las Vegas, so I didn't really want to live in Las Vegas. We talked about Florida. And my son, my youngest son, who was on The Voice when he was 17, he's now 21, he got a record deal and a publishing deal here. And I drove him out, my first cross-country trip. And
Not your last, though.
Well, yeah, I've taken 3 in the last 6 months, having never taken one before, each time with a different family member and each time with a different vehicle. And now I got the final vehicle here just last week. But I took him out here, and in 2 days, I saw Franklin, I saw the Franklin Theater, I saw Main Street, and I went, oh my gosh, literally, I'm in Bedford Falls, and it's a wonderful life. And I said that, and I thought this, and I called my wife, I said, you got it. So she came, and she was here a little longer, like a couple weeks, and fell in love. And she called me, and she said, honey, I want to move here. And I said, okay, what's the theater scene like? And she had just happened to have met a woman through my son, who had made a friend, his family, who was an usher for Studio 10 at the Jameson. So I called up on the phone. I found them online, the Studio 10. And it said that they had an interim artistic director in place. And I thought, okay, I'm calling. And I spoke to Todd Morgan, and he's our managing director. And I came for my son's 21st birthday. I came and saw Mamma Mia. The next day, I took Todd Morgan to lunch. And I said, look, I just want to throw my name in the hat for this artistic director job. And they were going on a nationwide search. A week later, I get an email from Tony McAllister, who's our board chair. And that starts a series of phone calls for like an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, of talking to Tony, then various board members, them doing background checks on me. I was who I said I was. I was not an Osmond. I am a Cassidy. And so, although we do have the same veneers, and that started, this wonderful thing. And anyway, within 6 weeks, they said, we'd love you to come and be our new artistic director. So Studio 10, it's interesting, Lynn McAllister put up her hand very quickly, and Mindy called on her. I too knew that 51 years was the time that the community theater has. Who knows the difference here between professional theater and community theater? Yes, in the back. What is the difference? But the big difference is that they don't get paid. That's exactly right. Which is why they're in business for 51 years. No, it is, but we do professional theater. Professional theater literally means that we equity, which is the union for actors, we do equity contracts, and the union protects us. And Studio 10 is about to enter their second decade. And I get to take over as artistic director for that second decade. Yeah. It is an honor. I am so looking forward. I'm in the process right now of planning our season. Let me just tell you, we have Steel Magnolias going into rehearsals right now. If you haven't seen Steel Magnolias, and I'm sure you have, it is one of the greatest plays. And then after that, we have The Legacy. And our legacy is where we tribute a different legend. And this year we're doing Aretha Franklin, and I get to direct that. We are doing that at the Franklin Theater. And then finally, we're going to close our season at the Jameson with 9 to 5. And if I have anything to do with it, Dolly Parton will be there.
It is the year of Dolly, basically.
It is. And it is the year of the woman in Franklin. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that this is the year, the centennial of women getting to vote. Is that true in Tennessee?
It is.
So that's why all the shows this year, from Mamma Mia to Cinderella to The Legacy of Aretha, 9 to 5, Steel Magnolias, was all about women. So very honored to be here. Very honored to be the new artistic director. And I have literally met 1,000 people, and I think I've memorized 999 names.
Right. Now,
Who are you? No, I'm kidding.
So your wife is a very talented choreographer herself. So tell us a little bit about your wife.
My wife, her name is Melissa Hurley Cassidy. Incidentally, she was the last person I drove out in her vehicle. So she just came about a week ago. She was a dancer for 30 years. She's done the Academy Awards 5 times. She's done a million videos and films. You would see her. She was in The Mask. She was in That Thing You Do with Tom Hanks. She did Running Man. She was on the series Fame. She was engaged to David Bowie. That's a whole other lecture. But she did the David Bowie tour in 1987 and ended up going on tour with him again. And anyway, she's an incredible choreographer and teacher now, and she is so excited about getting the education program rolling here in Franklin to get kids that want to pursue their dreams in musical theater a chance to be on a professional stage, say for Studio 10. So that she is here with me too as well.
I'm sure before you get out of here, Gina will make sure you know they have a commercial entertainment division here at
They do?
Columbus State. Yes. And,
Really?
yeah.
I need an agent.
So that's good. I want to ask Justin a question. So you mentioned between the people visiting Franklin and the staycationers. Are you getting a lot of staycationers coming
We are.
in this first
There's a
month?
lot of curiosity, so they want to come and check it out.
So tell us a little bit about that balance, or how is that balancing out for people coming? Are they staying more than a night, or or is it something
Yeah,
special they're coming for?
I think the staycationers are just like a night away, a weekend away, just to check out the hotel and then just stay somewhere other than home. And then the travelers, we've had people from all over already. Franklin is certainly on the map, so I think it all goes with the curiosity of what's there to offer, what's going on in Franklin that people are driving people here, and then we have your corporations, the business travelers, and so on.
So in December, Ellie Chen, the CEO of the Convention and Visitors Bureau here, or Visit Franklin, talked to us about the number of hotel rooms already online, and then I think 7 hotels coming online in 2020. How does that balance? And Alec and Adam, you may have something to comment about. Y'all have got a hotel, or you've brought some hotels online. What's the balance, and where's the saturation when it comes to hotels?
Well, I would definitely say that Nashville's feeling that. When we first moved here, I think there was 15,000 rooms in the mix, and there was 28 to 30,000 that were open in the greater Nashville area. So there's definitely a lot coming on board, and I think we're about 1,100, 1,200 that are in Williamson County that are in the works. So it definitely makes it tough, especially when they're a lot in the same style of hotel. I think what makes us unique is we're the only lifestyle boutique style hotel in Williamson County, and hopefully that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, and I would echo the need to differentiate the product. The development that we are completing right now with Chartwell Hospitality at McEwen is a Spring Hill Suites, and is something that we're trying to do with the limited stay or limited service hotels, is that really differentiate that product from the appearance, from the amenities within it, but also to sit that hotel within this mixed use campus, again going back to that, so that that traveler and that guest has an experience that they can kind of write home to, of saying, yes, we visited Franklin, and we weren't just in a hotel in the middle of a parking lot in the middle of a suburban interstate exit, and really trying to differentiate that overnight experience.
I'll get Justin to give you his mic. And we're only using the mics because we are being recorded and we don't want to have audio drop out. Y'all kind of led the way in the Koger Center and what you did there with the redevelopment and the addition of the hotel, and redeveloping what was open space or parking lot. Is that the new trend coming for Cool Springs?
Yeah, we definitely, the question is, I think, is there a trend to density and to this mixed use fabric of development? And we would certainly say yes. There is a new zoning ordinance that I would invite you to talk to Alderman Martin or others about at the city to learn more. But in an effort to encourage that type of development, the city is become and was, but is very much forward thinking in their Envision Franklin document, as well as recrafting their zoning ordinance to promote that mixed use development. And so I think here in the near future, you'll see that take place throughout Cool Springs. There's a lot of parking lots that are empty come 5 and 6 o'clock at night. So how do we engage those properties and bring in a mixture of uses that allows those to become, I don't know if we'll quite hit the 24/7 style of development that maybe some places in the Gulch or Nashville are seeing, but we're certainly trying to do that at McEwen or our Berry Farms project on the south side of Franklin, and very much engage in that thought.
Great. We've got about 10 minutes, so I'm going to see if there are any questions from the audience. Okay, I'll go over here.
Good morning, Adam. I would love to know when the bridge over the Harpeth at Harlingsdale is expected to be completed.
Sure. Right now, it is in design with TDOT, and what we're hearing from both TDOT and the city with regard, although the funds have been appropriated, is that will most likely be open in 2021. So hopefully there is an opportunity to accelerate that some, but as of right now, as they work through some of the technicalities of the floodplain and things like that with the river, it would be a 21 opening. So.
Adam, you spoke a little bit about Berry Farms. I think Berry Farms is a really cool development, especially the way it spans I-65 and the visibility that that gives all the travelers on 65. It's almost like a gateway into Franklin. I've looked at the master plan. I know that that is a huge project in the future, but what can we expect to see in that area in the next couple of years?
Sure. No, thank you for the compliments and the question. Berry Farms, for those that don't know, is about a 600-acre campus that splits both sides of 65 at the Goose Creek interchange. We have entitlements there for approximately 5 million commercial square feet, 1,100 residential units. And to put that in perspective, at that property, that is about 80% the size of Cool Springs on about 50% of the land. So very much looking to have that kind of integrated, more dense development that's more pedestrian friendly versus vehicular focused. We have broken ground this month on our first phase of apartments there that will be kind of a town center with retail on the ground level of and residential above. And we're looking to continue to grow the office market. So obviously Franklin has become, or continues to be a top tier priority for office relocations. And with the advent of Dave Ramsey's headquarters there, we just opened the end of last year headquarters for Aetna Insurance, and are getting ready to start another corporate office building across the street from Lee Company. So we're really very much looking forward to continuing the commercial growth there, adding some retail outlets for the South Franklin residents and visitors, and then continuing to deliver on some residential opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed all three of you. Can't wait to try the restaurant. On the front for Boyle, are there any music venues in the near future?
Right now, we don't have any music venues on tap. I think one thing at Berry Farms that we are looking to integrate at that exit is to look and see, as retail and the big box industry declines, is looking to see what opportunities are there for kind of an entertainment and lifestyle approach, not only to visitors to Franklin, but most importantly, residents here. And so I do think you'll see some morphing from that more traditional retail box to more of a lifestyle and entertainment approach coming up.
That's what I meant, more like that. And for Patrick, you actually, so you actually, I met you at Zolo's when my friend was having a birthday.
Yeah.
And your son actually serenaded her for her
Oh,
birthday.
yes, I remember that very well. It's all over YouTube. You can all see.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sort of a PR for him. What is his record? What is he? When's that?
He's a Christian artist. He's actually starts recording this month and in the beginning of February. He's with Fair Trade, and he's with Warner Chappell as an artist and a writer as well. And since he's been here in Tennessee, he's written 40 songs. He had 60 before that. So it's a question of, what will make the top 12. But he is, he's very, very talented. Although he is coming into audition for me for the Aretha Franklin Legacy. And trust me, the nepotism card is not played. So, but he is very talented.
Thank you so much. I'm Joy Lehman with the United Way, and I am also a season ticket holder with Studio 10. And I'd like to commend, they do just a fabulous job. What do you think is your greatest opportunity and your greatest challenge for Studio 10 in the upcoming decade?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. The opportunity is endless. This, as I said to you, if if Tennessee, if Nashville, if Franklin, if Davidson County, if Williamson County, that's right, that's where we live. Shoot, I got very nervous there. If Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, is the epicenter for music, as I've said before, musical theater is the American arts pastime. It was invented by Americans. It is ours. What's better than to take music and fuse it with drama? And to teach a state, to teach a community about musical theater and the importance of musical theater and theater at large that's endless. The challenge is like any theater company, and I don't know if this has been said, but Studio 10 is your resident company. It is mine. That's why I'm not living in Nashville. I wanted to live in Franklin, so this is my home. And so I've made an investment by coming here and investing in living here in Franklin, is that Studio 10 is my resident company and it's yours. And with that, we survive. We're a nonprofit. We survive on donations. We survive on subscriptions. We survive on ticket sales. But it's everybody getting together, and and that's what it's about. And that's the challenge, is getting everybody on board and to understand that from building that, we have an arts-generated community that teaches theater to kids and to families. I'm telling you, if Studio 10 disappeared and was not here, you'd feel it. You'd notice it. It would, as you said, it is an incredible company. I feel honored to be here, and I feel honored to give as much of my experience and knowledge to bringing musical theater here to Franklin.
Great panel, guys. Thank you so much. Let's thank our panelists. And they'll be here for a few minutes if you have any questions or want to introduce yourself personally to them. We cannot do Frank Talks without our great partners, Williamson Medical Center and Renaissance Bank. And they are great supporters of this program and Franklin Tomorrow in general. Our upcoming events, January 28th, Breakfast with the Mayors, which is presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners at Rolling Hills Community Church. That will feature the Williamson County Mayoral Summit, and we've got the mayors from all of Williamson County cities. We'll join Franklin Mayor Dr. Ken Moore and Williamson County Mayor Rogers Anderson. And our next Frank Talks will be discussing the community health plan, which has been worked on for the last year and a half. And we'll be presenting that at the Williamson County Enrichment Center on February 10th. Thank you for being here. And if you have any questions, but these are great guys to know. And we appreciate your attendance. And we'll see you later this month or early next month. Thanks so much. Have a great day.